combine our brands together, and much more important, what benefits you have when you combine these two products. We are doing this webinar together as a partnership with GoodWe, and together with me in the webinar room is Theo from GoodWe. He's going to introduce himself in a few seconds. And before we start, we need to do some formal stuff. So we are going to share the slides we have prepared for you today after the webinar. So it's not necessary to make notes all the time. You can go through the content after the webinar very easy. And during the webinar, you have the chance to ask my colleague Talal questions on my PV stuff, because he's with me in the webinar room and he's dealing with your questions in the chat. So if you have a question on a detail where I was not detailed enough, do not hesitate, just write it into the chat room. All right. My name is Reinhard Hofstetter. I'm at MyPV for 7 years already, and I always have the pleasure to do the webinars for people like you. So thanks a lot that you are participating today and that you are with us. The host of this webinar is actually my colleague Talal, who is responsible for international sales at MyPV. And Talal is the one I mentioned. He's in the chat room available for your questions. Yeah, the CEO of MyPV is Gerhard Rimpler. He had the vision a long time ago that one day photovoltaics will become so cheap that we can use it for power to heat as well. And when he started developing the first solutions for this idea, people laughed about him. So it was just crazy those days to use PV power for heat appliances, but things have changed completely. Nowadays, photovoltaics are the cheapest power plants that we have. So of course we can make use of the PV power for all purposes we want to. Okay, MyPV story is relatively young. The company was started in 2011, actually as a distribution company, but the business model changed quite early, and we have become what we are today, a developer and a manufacturer of power to heat solutions for residential applications. Actually, this is the market spot where we are dealing. We are producing solutions for power to heat appliances in residential buildings, mainly hot water heating. And therefore we have invented different solutions, a DC solution, and today much more important are the AC solutions, because these are the solutions that are compatible in your system with GoodWe. All right, one more for the introduction. This is our headquarters. We built it in, or we officially started in there in September 2021, and it's already too small for us. So since the Ukrainian crisis, the demand for power to heat appliances and for more autonomy has become very much. So it's amazing how big the interest has become. And of course, we are reacting accordingly, and we are expanding our production facilities as well. Next step is the hall the building in the background here, where we are doing the manufacturing of the next product that we are going to introduce today. All right, Theo, please introduce yourself and GoodWe.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Reinhard. My name is Theodorik Leao. I work as a technical sales manager and product manager at GoodWe. I'm located in Munich right now, where GoodWe has its European headquarters, so to say. And GoodWe is also a young company, only 1 year older than MyPV. So it was founded in 2010. We're a Chinese manufacturer of energy PV solutions with a focus on solar inverters. mainly string inverters for residential, with the core focus being on hybrid and storage solutions. So we have our headquarter and manufacturing in China, around 2 hours outside from Shanghai, in a place called Suzhou. Right now, we're globally around 4,000 employees, and a large part of that is in the research and development department, so that we can ensure that we have the cutting edge technology that we offer. Yes, and I will show you later on which products we use together with MyPV that you can combine, and how those works. So
we are looking forward to it. Before we start with the GoodWe main part, it's about me to introduce you the idea of hot water with photovoltaics. We think that the future of building installations are electric, or is electric, mainly PV electric, to be honest, because it needs to be sustainable and it needs to be renewable. So the power needs to come from the roof. As I mentioned, photovoltaic is the cheapest form of energy generation today. No other conventional power plant can create a kilowatt hour of power as cheap as photovoltaic does. And since this is valid, we can think about new appliances for PV power. Before that, we fed all the energy back into the power grid, or we used it for electric appliances only. So what's going on today is, for example, what we see on the roads every day. So e-mobility has become more and more important, and this is just one example of other appliances for PV power. So what MyPV is dealing with is power to heat. We are making use of excessive PV power, of power that is too much in your building, for hot water heating mainly, or for electric space heating if desired. So in German, we are talking about sector coupling, which means that we use renewable energies for all appliances that we want to. And that's one of the key benefits when you use electric power, because with electric power, you can just do everything. With thermal power, for example, you are limited for heat and hot water appliances. But with electricity, we can do just everything we want to. Power to heat is one example here, and this is where what the MyPV solutions are about. So again, it's about using excessive power. Which amount of power is this? It's the amount that remains after you generate PV electricity with your GoodWe inverter. You supply your electric loads in the building first. What cannot be used by the electric loads is mainly stored in a battery, if there is a battery. This is a very popular solution. I think in Germany, 75% of all new residential installations are already equipped with batteries. It does not matter for MyPV if there is a battery or not, but what is too much after this step is what we make use about. So we are utilizing the excessive energy before it is fed into the grid. And we are doing this as long as there is thermal capacity available in the hot water boiler, for example, or as long as we can adjust our power. Once we are limited and the excess power is more that we can make use of, then the rest of the excessive amount goes to the grid. All right, so before you send it to the grid, we're making heat out of it. Some of our solutions are equipped with an heating rod, with an immersion heater. And when people see an immersion heater, they are reminded of standard immersion heaters like they are on the market for decades already. And they think they are questioning what is special about it. It's just an immersion heater. No, it's not, because a standard immersion heater that the people know is making heat out of power one by one with electricity from the grid. And this is not what MyPV is doing. What MyPV is doing is we make use of PV power, and therefore our devices are capable to adjust the power output according to the amount of excess power. and this changes permanently. So what is MyPV doing? We are producing something like, let's call it a gearbox, okay? We are creating a gearbox for direct electric heating systems. And with this kind of gearboxes, which is actually an electronics device, of course, and not really a gearbox, but I'm just using this term to explain it. With this gearbox, we are adjusting the power output. And therefore, and in that way, the power generation or the heat generation becomes PV ready. Okay, and this is just one example. What is always an option with MyPV solutions is to maintain a minimum temperature for your thermal comfort in the boiler by using electricity from the grid. This is an option. It's actually deactivated when the devices are leaving our production, and practically you can do this, let's say, backup for the minimum temperature with a conventional heating system as well. It does not matter for the MyPV device if the boiler or the tank is heated by a heat pump or a biomass boiler or a district heating system as well. It's just another heat source that is feeding the tank. It does not make any difference for us. But if you want to deactivate these conventional heating systems, let's say during the summertime, for example, then you can use electricity from the grid if you want, also to go through a period of bad weather, for example. If it's a rainy day for 3 or 4 days, one after the other, and there was not enough PV power to do the hot water heating, you can use the grid as backup if you want. Okay, storage capacities. We see that we have large unused storage capacities in thermal tanks or hot water boilers. Let's compare this with a battery. When we see typical battery capacities in residential buildings, then we see capacities somewhere in between 10 or 5 kilowatt hours, maybe more or less, but round about 10 kilowatt hours capacity. And if there is a battery, the MyPV solution also works with GoodWe. So it does not make any difference for us if you use a battery as well or not with GoodWe. We can be a cheaper alternative. This is what I want to say, because when we heat up the volume of a 300-liter hot water tank, let's say for 45 degrees centigrade, you can store 15 kilowatt hours of energy. And this is much more capacity than we have in the battery. Of course, there's a disadvantage with this concept, because once it is heated in the hot water boiler, we cannot get back electricity out of it. And there's again the advantage of the cooperation with GoodWe. When you have a battery, then the battery has priority before we do the hot water heating. That's the good news. So it can be an alternative or a cheap expansion of existing storage capacities, just as you want to see it. But at the beginning, we need to deal with the question, why does it make sense not to feed in surplus energy into the grid? Maybe it's an economic reason. When feed-in tariffs are not attractive anymore, and when you receive less money back from the utility, then you have to pay for your gas bill on the other side, then it's wise to keep the kilowatt hour in the building, not feeding it to the power grid, because you are replacing your conventional energy source, let's say oil or gas, one by one, and you save on money with this. And then there's a social reason, energy independence. There was always a customer group for MyPV who saw that this is an important fact, but since the Ukrainian crisis, this is many times more important now. So energy independence is the topic of today, and with the power to heat solution for your residential building, we can support you with that. Then there's a technical reason, grid stability. In the future that we want to see, are all the roofs covered with PV panels. We need to do the transition to renewable energies. But once all buildings are full with solar panels, then one thing is not possible anymore. And this is, of course, the feeding into the power grid during the summertime. So to utilize as much as possible of our power plant on the roof for ourselves, we need to make use of all storage capacities that we have. The battery is one example. With MyPV, we have the hot water boilers as well, and the storage tanks, where we see huge storage capacities. We make use out of the PV power we get, and we avoid the shutdown of the PV system in the future. So I already mentioned there is also a DC solution. It's called ELWA, electric water heater. This is a device that is nearly 10 years in our portfolio. It's a solution where you connect PV panels directly. But this is not what we are going to show you today. We are talking about AC solutions. So for on-grid PV systems, there needs to be an inverter. And this inverter is GoodWe. And once GoodWe has a metering device in the feed-in point as well, which is connected to the inverter, we can request this metering data from the inverter. And there are two MyPV devices that can make use of this information and that are possible to combine with GoodWe. Number one, it's the AC ELWA 2, and then there's the Actor and the Actor 9S in a 9 kilowatt variant, which can communicate with GoodWe. So let's start with the AC ELWA 2. It's let's say an all-included solution. You have the gearbox, the power stage, which does the power adjustment, together combined on one solution with an immersion heater. Yeah. So the gearbox here with the know-how of MyPV and the immersion heater for the hot water heating, it comes in one solution. And this is very attractive from a price point of view. And I'm going to describe you now how it works. Why is it so important to adjust the power output? It's very simple. You have two things in your building that are changing permanently. So the power output of the inverter is one thing. Why is this so? It's pretty clear for all of us. The PV yield, the solar yield from the panels is changing. It's not a constant generator. The clouds are moving on the sky and the solar irradiation changes. And the other thing that is changing permanently are the loads in the building. Something is always switched on and off, and an appliance, a device, the light, whatever. And what we make use of is the excessive power. So the balance out of these two things in the feed-in point. Only what is too much in the building is what we are using for hot water heating. And this solution, AC ELWA 2, can be assembled in a hot water tank or in a freshwater boiler. And it's connected to GoodWe via the local area network. So in the feed-in point, there's a metering device which communicates with the inverter. And we have a communication with the inverter. For the AC ELWA 2, this means local area net, so hardwired Ethernet cables or Wi-Fi. For the inverter, as far as I know, it's currently not possible to use the Wi-Fi module for the combination with MyPV. You need the LAN module here right now. Okay. AC ELWA 2 is a successor of a product named AC ELWA E. It was a 3 kilowatt unit. And we have several advantages over AC ELWA E with AC ELWA 2. For example, we have a bigger power range. The maximum power output of AC ELWA 2 is 3.5 kilowatts. Then there's a color touch display, as we also have it on another device named Actor. So it's very easy to handle and very intuitive to do the setup for GoodWe. By the way, the setup is very easy, but I'm going to show you later on. For the AC ELWA E, the letter E meant Ethernet. It was always required or always necessary to do the connection to the signal source via an Ethernet cable. With AC ELWA 2, you have the option to do so with the Ethernet cable as well, but you have Wi-Fi also available if you like. And then there is something which we call in German, very, very difficult to explain, Gewerke-Trennung, which means that the professions are separated. When AC ELWA 2 comes in the box, the immersion heater is separated from the electronics. And the advantage is is that the plumber knows what to do and the electrician knows what to do. They are no longer confused as they were sometimes with AC ELWA, because they did not know who's responsible to install the device. And now it's clear. So when you receive an AC ELWA 2, the immersion heater and the power stage are separated from each other. All right, linear power output of the heating. This is what it's all about when we talk of MyPV solutions. Okay, I'm going to skip this, and here you have an overview of the technical details. I'm also not going into every detail here on these slides because you are receiving the presentation a few minutes after the webinar anyway, and you can go through these details if you're interested in. Improving the self-consumption. So what is possible to improve? Here we have a diagram. It's from the Technical University in Berlin. And here we see the self-utilization ratio in a single family home, yes. And the example here with a 5 kilowatt peak system tells us that you can use only 1/3 of your solar yield for your own appliances. The rest of the energy goes back to the power grid because production and demand in the building, they are not happening at the same time. So what can you do? You can install a battery. That's a good idea. You increase your self-utilization ratio to 2/3. So it's a huge increase here, but you need to have the money for this investment. Alternatively to the battery, you can use an AC ELWA 2, for example, and at lower investment costs, you increase your self-utilization ratio even higher. But we do not compete with batteries, and especially with GoodWe, it's an amazing chance to combine all storage capacities. And if you do so, you reach a self-utilization ratio even higher, more than 90% in this example. And again, if there is a battery on the GoodWe system, then the battery has priority before hot water heating. All right, you can also calculate this for your projects. There's an online calculator named Power Coach, and here you can do all the technical adjustments to simulate self-utilization ratio during the year and independence ratio. You can also do an economics calculation because the operational cost can be adjusted here. What are you paying for heat? What are you receiving for feeding into the power grid? And what are you paying for your electricity bill? This everything can be taken into account here, and you can also create variants to compare what solution means the best benefit for you. So it's free. It's online. You can use it without any registration, and it gives you a very good idea of the benefits that we are offering. Good. This was AC ELWA 2. The other device from MyPV that can be used for GoodWe combinations is Actor. And Actor is actually the power stage that you already know from AC ELWA 2, but without the immersion heater. Instead, there is a main socket on the device, and while this means that you can make a very attractive price offer with AC ELWA 2, this here means that you are much more flexible. So flexibility is the benefit of Actor, because practically you can also connect a standard immersion heater, which is already on site at the customer's place. And so you do some kind of retrofitting for this standard immersion heater, and by using the Actor in between, by using the gearbox for this immersion heater, you make this later on PV ready. So the whole installation is then purely electric. You do not need a plumber anymore on site because you just reuse the immersion heater, which is already there. And much more on flexibility. The Actor can also do the power control, let's say on infrared panels or electric heating mats in the floor. As long as it is a purely direct electric heating system, we can make use of this kind of load. And while the Actor is a single phase device capable of doing the power adjustment up to 3 kilowatts. There's a big brother of Actor named Actor 9S, and this is a 3-phase 9 kilowatt power stage. And of course, we can connect 3-phase immersion heaters there. Let's say a 6 kilowatt immersion heater, 4.5, 9 kilowatt immersion heater, does not matter. The actors are able to detect the nominal power of their loads by themselves. There is not even the requirement of an adjustment for the load. So we detect the nominal power of the load and we are using it accordingly. All the technical details just for your information later on. Go through it if you need more information. Also for the Actor 9S, there's just one detail I want to mention. It's about retrofitting existing 3-phase immersion heaters. Therefore, you need to take care of one detail. We need a neutral conductor on the load. So the Actor 9S is star connected with its load. It does not work in the delta connection. That's very important. Of course, many of our customers want the security that all components fit together, and that's why we are also offering accessory parts, 3 kilowatt single phase heater here, 9 kilowatt 3-phase heater. If you like, we are supplying you with these accessory parts as well. Practically, it's also possible to use third-party immersion heaters. As long as the technical terms fit to our demand, you can combine it. No problem from our side. Actor and Actor 9S come in a standard package, and they are offering 7 operation modes. And all of these modes can be used off the shelf. It's not necessary to buy a certificate or a license or whatever. When you take the device out of the box, you can use all of these schemes. And these are more or less standard predefined schemes for the application. And they fit into nearly every project. The most important mode is, of course, the mode 1, the hot water mode. Again, it does not make any difference if the immersion heater that is connected to the Actor is in a freshwater boiler or in a storage tank. It does not make any difference for this. And I think nearly 90% of our devices are running in this operation mode, which means that we can supply, let's say, with the Actor 9S, a 9 kilowatt immersion heater somewhere in the storage tank, and we can make most of the PV power you have, because we have huge storage capacities in storage tanks, for example, and calcification is not a problem in storage tanks. By the way, we recommend to adjust the target temperature on our devices of maximum 60 degrees centigrade when you use the device in fresh water. Calcification can be a problem for the immersion heater. That's every time the case for all manufacturers. But if you assemble these immersion heaters in storage tank, for example, you do not have to take care of the calcification. And by the way, you are also supporting your hydronic space heating system in that way. So using a 9 kilowatt immersion heater, for example, is not a problem. But with the Actor 9S, you can also connect 3 single-phase immersion heaters for bigger storage tanks. This means the benefit that you have a hot zone on the top of the tank quite early, because the volume that has to be heated is much smaller. So let's say you have 1 kilowatt of excessive power at the moment, then we are adjusting the power output on the immersion heater on the top accordingly. Very fast and very accurate. Especially with GoodWe, this works very fast. If you just switch on the light in the living room, we immediately decrease the power output to ensure the balance in the feed-in point. So this happens 1 time a second. And let's assume you have 4 kilowatts of excessive power now. We are going to switch the immersion heater on the top, and we are changing the adjusted phase to the immersion heater in the middle. And now you know what's going to happen when you have 7 kilowatt of excessive power. We are switching the heater on the top and in the middle, and we are doing the power adjustment on the heater at the bottom. Overall, up to 9 kilowatts are possible. This works as long as there is capacity free in the boiler, which means when you're on target temperature, the thermostat on the heater cuts off the load. For Hector, it means that he continues to work with the other remaining immersion heaters, and this goes on and on until the whole tank is either heated or there is no excessive power available anymore. Good. Yeah. Benefits. It's very easy to install. The display is very intuitive to control, and that's the reason why we also decided to use this display that we already know from the Hector also on the AC ELWA 2 in the future. Beside the display, all of our devices that are relevant for the GoodWe combination here, they have a web setup. So within the local area network, you have also access to the IP address of the device. And if you do not like to make adjustments on the display, of course, you can do this on your tablet, on your smartphone when you're within the local area network. And there's also a cloud solution, by the way, to have remote access from outside the network. Good. And most important thing now is how you can combine AC ELWA 2 Hector or Hector 9S with GoodWe. There is a short quick start guide available for you guys to download on our website. We have the link integrated here, and when you are receiving the PowerPoint or the PDFs after the presentation a few minutes later, then you can click on that link and you directly come to this quick start guide. And on just 2 pages, it's described how easy it is to connect a MyPV device to a GoodWe inverter. What is always required, I'm saying it again because it's so essential, there needs to be a metering device in the feed-in point. Otherwise, we cannot request this metering data from the GoodWe inverter. And status of today is we need the GoodWe LAN module for the communication. It does not work with the Wi-Fi module. Good. Theo, up to you. Stage is yours now. Okay. Yeah, here he is. Hi.
Hi, thank you very much. Yes, so let's now talk about which products you can combine MyPV with. So as I said before, at GoodWe we mainly do solar inverters and focus on the hybrid inverters. So some kind of combination with storage. And here we have a few different products depending on which market. So what we see here on the right side, we have the EH and BH inverter. So this is for single phase applications. Any inverter that always starts with B are battery inverters, so they have no PV at all. But so let's focus on the one that have hybrid. These are the one with E, so EH, and the ET plus, which is the 3-phase hybrid inverter. This ET plus goes between 5 up to 10 kilowatt and always has 2 MPPTs. And this year, in the beginning of this year, we also expanded this series up to 30 kilowatt. So we also now have ET with 15 kilowatt, 20 kilowatt, 25 and 30 kilowatt. What is very good with our inverters is that they all have a backup function integrated. This means that in case the grid there will be some kind of power failure, then the inverter will be able to supply the loads in the house anyways. They're also smart home ready, which means that they support various protocols, and in this case they communicate with MyPV over Modbus TCP. And for this communication, as Reinhard said before, you need to have the LAN dongle. I will get back to this as well. What's also very good is that you can oversize these with 50%. This means that you can have a higher amount of PV on the roof than the rated power of the inverter. So for example, having 15 kilowatt on the roof and then a 10 kilowatt inverter. And what's more good to know is that everything is included. So all these functions, there are no extras that you need to buy additionally. The only thing that you need is this LAN dongle. But otherwise, the backup function, the smart home protocols, and the communication protocols, they're all included in the package. Yes, this is a lot of what I already said, but so all of our ET series are compatible with MyPV, and when you purchase a GoodWe inverter, there will always be a Wi-Fi dongle included, but to have the communication with the MyPV devices, you need to have the LAN dongle that needs to be bought separately. This integrated backup power is good to know. How large is it? How much can it support? Many other inverter brands on the market, they have a limit on how much they can support on a backup power or emergency power supply. And we can always supply the same amount as the rated power of the inverter. So if you have a 10 kilowatt inverter, it's always possible to also connect up to 10 kilowatt on the backup side. When we talk about this backup function, it's to know that because everything is integrated, the switching time is instant. This means that the time it takes from that the grid that there is a power failure and the backup function starts up is under 10 milliseconds. So if we have a grid frequency of 50 hertz, then 10 milliseconds would be 1/5 of the grid frequency. So it's very quick. And to each hybrid inverter from GoodWe, you can also connect a different amount of batteries. We have our own battery called Blingshome F+. And with this, you can connect up to 130 kilowatt hour of battery capacity. And also apart from our own batteries, we're also compatible with the main brands on the market, such as BYD, Pylon-Tech, and so on. And what is also very good nowadays is that we have a peak shaving function. So in case the customer has not only an energy tariff, but they also have a power tariff, which means that they need to pay a penalty in case they draw more energy from the grid than a certain limit, then the battery can be used not only to store the excess power, but also to sort of clip those peaks in the load consumption. We also have our EV charger, which I will show later on. And this is another step in this sector coupling to integrate not only PV, but to have PV integrated with also the mobility sector, so the EV charger, and then also the heat sector with MyPV. Also good to know is that for home applications, they are very suitable because up to 10 kilowatt, there are no external fans, so they are very quiet when they operate. Here you see a short overview of the different models that we offer. So from 5 up to 10 kilowatt, this is what we had previously as well. And now we have extended it up to 30 kilowatt, or actually here you see 29.9. This is because in Germany, you need to have an additional protection from 30 kilowatt. But with this model, it's not necessary to install it separately. Yes, and here is this backup function that I talked about before. This is one of our sort of main selling points that we have for our products, and it's very, very requested especially in Europe. So you see here that we have 2 different AC outputs. So the inverter here is connected to the PV on the roof, and then you have a connection to the battery. And what is always included in the package is this energy meter. This energy meter checks how much energy is going in and out from the grid. And to the grid, you also have your normal loads connected here. But as you see here, there's also a second AC output. And this output here is where you can connect all the backup loads. And what you see in the next slide here is that when the grid has a power failure, the inverter needs to disconnect from the grid to protect any people that might be working to repair the grid. This means that the loads in your house will normally be dead as well. However, through this internal switching, so internal switching for emergency power backup supply, the inverter can keep on supplying whatever is connected here, because this AC line is not directly connected to the grid, but indirectly through the inverter. And this switch happens automatically when the grid goes out. It's also good to mention that in case there is no power outlet, the loads that are connected to this line here and this line here are completely equivalent. So there's no priority between these two loads. It is as if these backup loads would also be connected to the grid. And I also want to show the battery that we supply to our ET solution. So the battery we have is a Linxome F+. It's a tower solution, as you see here. It exists of the base plate, which are the feet. This is the gray part you see here. On the top, you have the PCU. This is a computer to connect all the battery modules and calculate the charging levels of them and communicate with the inverter. In between these two, so the base plate and the PCU, you have the different battery modules. And these are the boxes that you see here. Each battery module consists of 3.3 kilowatt hours. You need minimum 2 of those to one inverter, and can have up to 5 in one tower solution. So that means somewhere between 6.6 to 16.4 kilowatt hours per tower. Then it's also possible to connect these towers as well to each other to extend it. And in this way, you can get up to 130 kilowatt hours of battery capacity. And also good to explain that the installation is very easy. Each of these battery modules, they have contacts between them without any cables. So they just plug into each other. You just put them on top of each other and they are automatically connected. The very good thing with using a GoodWe battery with a GoodWe inverter is that not only do you get everything from the same manufacturer, but you simplify the commissioning phase a lot. So when you have a third-party battery, you first need to commission the inverter and then also the battery separately. In case the battery is also from GoodWe, then the inverter will recognize this and automatically set up the battery communication without any additional work for you as an installer. Apart from that, I want to mention that they are all IP55 rated, so they can be used both indoor and outdoor. But it's also good to know the temperature ranges, which is down to -20 degrees, but under 0 degrees, you cannot charge the battery. So you can always discharge it, but if you live in a cold place where it's usually -degrees in wintertime, then I recommend to install it in maybe the garage or somewhere where it's not so often go under 0 degrees. The technology is very safe, lithium iron phosphate technology, which is the standard used in the market right now. And here you see some different combination. So with this ET, up until now, the top seller has been to have the ET 10 kilowatt combined with 15 kilowatt peak on the roof. You then have 2 MPPTs, so you can have 2 different angles on the roof for the solar panels, and combining this with a full stack of Lynxholm F Plus is usually a good fit. It depends a little bit on the consumption, but if you increase the battery power, you pay a lot for the extra battery, but you cannot really use all of that energy anyways. So it's good to find a good balance. A much better option would then be, like in this case, to combine it with some sector coupling like MyPV. Then you can use much more of the PV power as well, because the power drawn from the battery is also limited by the power from the inverter. For larger houses and CNI options, then you have 2 different options. So either you can use the 10 kilowatt ETs and connect them in parallel. With this, you can have up to 10 of them in parallel, so up to 150 kilowatt peak, and each of them can have their own stack of batteries. Or now with our larger inverter, it will be easier for smaller CNI and large house installations, where you can just use either a ET 15 kilowatt or up to 30 kilowatt with up to 45 kilowatt peak on the roof, and then combine multiple battery stacks to this inverter. Yes, before we continue, I just want to show a little bit about our EV charger as well. This is a new product for us. Unfortunately, the picture here is not, you don't see the full picture, but you can see it here in the bottom right corner. So we have 2 different versions. We have a 7 kilowatt version for single phase, and one 11 and 22 kilowatt version for 3-phase solution. And with this, you also can extend the sector coupling even further to also combine your electric vehicle with the solar PV, and you can set up different kind of charging schedules. So you charge only the excess power. You can combine the hybrid charging, so you take a little bit of the PV, but then add it from the grid, and also a little bit depending on the time of day. So for example, charging at nighttime, where it's cheaper as well. As a last part, I just want to recommend that we also have further training. So we have an installer program called GoodWe Plus. This is to educate our installers and then also get some benefits for investing time and resources into learning about our products. It's usually consists of 3 modules, which is roughly 1 hour each. We have this on a regular basis. It's a webinar every 2nd month. We have it in many different languages. You can also find your local language version. Completing this program, you will be a GoodWe qualified installer, and you also get the free automatic warranty extension for our on-grid applications up to 20 kilowatt. In addition to that, you also get some other trainings and exclusive after-sales benefits. But it's also great to just learn more about the products and get a little bit deeper into how they work and how to set them up, how to install them, and how to commission them. And as a final word to sum all of this up, why would you want to choose GoodWe? So as I said in the beginning, GoodWe, we have a very strong focus on research and development. So our products have very high technological features. We are compatible with many different smart home applications like MyPV. And we are focusing a lot on hybrid inverters. I think we are the first one on the market to offer a 30 kilowatt hybrid inverter. So this is really major. And we also manufacture the batteries to it, so we provide the whole solution. We have good availability, and we also have local partners in most EU countries. Apart from this, we also have a strong local service, and we also offer this GoodWe Plus training that I just told you about. So Thank you for this. And now I give back the word to Reinhard.
Thank you very much, Theo. Yeah, very interesting features on the GoodWe inverter. For example, the backup mode when the grid fails. I think this is something that is becoming more and more important for many people, right?
Yeah, I think so too, especially the last couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks a lot. Finally, I want to sum up what we have heard about today. So I hope it was possible for us to convince you that MyPV and GoodWe can be combined very easily. There are a lot of projects out there that are already running in that combination. And we see the power to heat application from MyPV as an easy way to expand either existing battery capacities or to be a cheap alternative to battery system, because the battery, the thermal battery that we require is already there where people live. And with the MyPV technology, with the MyPV device, you can make use of this capacity that is already there. And this is very, very affordable. Finally, we are lowering your operating costs when we substitute your conventional energy source, let's say gas in the worst case. Then it's a direct advantage for your energy bill and also for your autarkic rate. Yeah, actually. And during the summertime, you can expect that you have 100% of hot water in a residential building, and this gives you the chance to deactivate your conventional heating system because it's oversized anyway. It's dimensioned for space heating actually, and only if there are 3 or 4 bad weather days, then we require some kilowatt hours from the grid in that case. So where to buy? We have a very well developed distribution network in the German-speaking countries, and thanks to Dalal's hard work, this distribution networks are also on the increase in other countries. You see them all linked in on our website. You can access to this distribution partners directly by using this link later on in the PDF document. On the website, there are also all other information you might need. So, for example, wiring diagrams, etc. So everything that becomes relevant when you are going to face your first installation. And here, all the information is available for free as well. So without any registration, we do not ask for your email address or whatever. It gives you the chance to download our technical schemes anytime right now, and you are perfectly prepared when you are the first time on site. And therefore, I also want to recommend our YouTube clips. Here we have actually a German video, but the YouTube subtitles work very well. We have recorded the commissioning of an actor with the camera in front of the display, and here we show you how easy it is to do the setup. And when you do this for the second time, you're finished the whole setting and the connection to GoodWe within 30 seconds. So easy can it be. So I really recommend it to you when you are directly in front of your first installation or ahead of your first installation. Then just take a look on this video and you are perfectly prepared. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot for participating in the webinar today. Thank you for your time. I think nowadays the highest value we have. And it was good to have you with us now. So, Theo, thanks also to you and to the GoodWe team. The cooperation lasts for a long time already, and it's always a pleasure to do the team play with you together. So thank you very much.
Likewise. Thank you a lot, and thank you all for listening.
Good. You're receiving an email from my side in a few minutes with the slides. And again, thank you very much and all the best from me and Talal here in Austria and from Theo in Germany, Munich. Have a nice evening. Thank you very much.
the solar future.